Welcome to the Sony Online Community Webcast, PoxNora Wild Legends. I am Aimee Ashlanne Rekoske, the Community Relations Project Manager, and I would like to introduce our guests for today. I have Associate Producer Luke Hawkfain Bultman.
Yep.
And Lead Designer Derek, I cannot say that. You have to tell him as...
Sokolov.
Sokolov. I can't say that. Chin. Your last name, Chin.
Yeah.
And who's your little friend?
So the people on the forums know me by my avatar, which is the Cactuar from Final Fantasy.
Oh, okay. So you actually brought him.
Yes.
You brought your avatar. All right.
I have a real version of my virtual avatar.
Alrighty. So let's dive in and start talking about the future of PoxNora. What are your plans for the game? Where do you see it going and all that?
Sure. So yeah, I'm very excited to be here. PoxNora is a great game that I love. It's a great opportunity for me to come back and work on the game again. I know the game really well, and I know the community, and all of you guys are, I consider most of you my friends, and so it's really cool to be able to work on the game again.
We're happy to have him back too.
Yes.
So one of the biggest issues with the game in terms of getting it to grow, and I do want it to grow quite a bit, is accessibility. And in general, the game is fairly complex. Because of the nature of the game, but at the same time there are some design decisions that we have made recently which sort of has increased the complexity of the game in the last few expansions, and so I would like to tone that down a little bit. Another area where players have a lot of concerns recently is the power creep that's sort of happened.
Yeah.
Of course, different people have different opinions on
There's power creep?
on power creep and how that affects the game. My opinion is that it's been a little bit faster than what it could be, and I also believe in some lateral power creep where we can create more synergy and create more interesting runes that work together as opposed to one-offs that are powerful in of themselves. And so I'm going to be implementing some policies and formulas in order to guide the design principles and decisions that we'll be making going forward.
He has very lofty goals for it. We're very excited about it. We're hopping over time, so.
All right. Okay, so we've got some questions from folks from the forums, and Dagbog says, as a new dev, you have a lot of heritage to build upon. From Corpse E and the guys before him, Corpse, it's probably just Corpse with a capital E.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can call him Corpse E.
Corpse E.
He's gone.
Which of this heritage do you want to keep and expand on the most? Which of it do you want to change the most? And, you're not new. You're just returning, right?
Right. So I worked on the Corpse, and he is a great guy, great lead, and I learned a lot from him. Consider him a friend and a mentor to me.
But how excited were you when you heard that you were going to get the reins? That's the cool part.
Woo-hoo.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, that's as much as working in the game industry itself was a dream, being able to actually be in a position to lead a product and be the guy who makes the final decisions is,
awesome.
pretty much what drew me back here. Okay, so the question was, what would I change, or sort of what I want to keep? So what's really interesting is that Corpse did something very recently, and he started this with an expansion a few expansions back with Marjara, where the expansions themselves are very cohesive. The individual runes within each expansion work together and create a thematic element together. And so I would like to really continue that tradition. And that doesn't mean that the new runes have to be new races or new mechanics. They can build on existing stuff. But what I really like about it is that a new player can come in, buy the new expansion runes, and see that these things work together, and they can right away understand how the runes will work together. And it allows us to build upon mechanics and make them really interesting going forward.
Okay.
Yeah, and in addition to that, too, I think that last expansion, we put out a poll on the forums, and you guys came back and said that you really enjoyed that as well. So that's another reason that I think it goes hand in hand with what SOC's trying to do. Pleasing the community and also pleasing what we want to do as a team. So.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, so this one is from, and I apologize if I'm butchering your forum names, but Xirone. It says Xirone.
He was on last time, I think.
Yeah?
Too.
Well, he asked another question. He wants to know, or he says you mentioned you'd like to increase player involvement and player accessibility. Are there any plans that you can share?
Sure. And I think most of you guys have probably found the forum, so you've already seen the Cactuar Crate, which I started, which is an initiative to allow more transparency into the decisions and information that I have that I would like players to know. So basically that's a forum where I'm posting potential changes that I'm considering so that players can discuss them and give their feedback prior to those changes going live. And they'll also know exactly when it goes live. And so that's, I want to thank you guys actually for, having been very constructive in that thread and not turning into some kind of troll thread. So thank you for that.
Because then Meps would have to shut it down.
Yeah, or I had to lock it so then when I was posting it and that kind of stuff.
That's so fun.
Yeah, so it's great that the feedback has been very focused and has provided a lot of discussions, and it also allows me to not have to trudge through millions of posts in order to get to the relevant feedback. So I appreciate that very much.
Awesome.
And we also have a number of other initiatives, for example, in the Runes Idea Forum, which I know that Corps didn't frequent very much, but I plan to use them quite often and see sort of your ideas for what the game could be like and what content you would you're interested in designing, because as a player, I was very much interested in creating my own designs, and it's nice if the developers and the designers who work on the game are paying attention to it. And you guys have great ideas, and so I'd like to acknowledge you guys for those ideas, and especially if we decide to use them in the game. And so there's a tome of acknowledgement sticky in that thread and that forum now that will keep track of that sort of stuff.
Gosh, that could be a really fun fanfare panel, design the next ruin.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. You guys should come to fanfare.
Yeah.
Yes, you should come to Fanfare.
And so, we also have some ideas on the story of PoxNora.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we have some, I threw out an announcement, well, not an announcement, but a thread a couple of weeks ago, seeing if people are interested in doing a kind of a player-sponsored story. As most of you know that are avid players of the game, we haven't continued the lore with the more recent expansions. So what we're considering possibly doing is having a player-run story lore contest. We don't have all the rules hashed out yet, but be on the lookout for that. And if you're a writer or you like writing fantasy stuff for Pox, this may be an opportunity for you to get something posted to the website. So be on the lookout in the forums, and you'll see the rules there.
That sounds really cool. All right, this one is from, Quokamole123. Are there any future plans to update the split races?
So the short answer is yes. The long answer is that any content that we release in the past, existing races, existing mechanics, are always in a pipeline to be updated or built upon. That said, I can't promise that next expansion is going to have X or Y, or that every race will have something within the next set of timeframes. But basically, there's not really a plan to shut down any of the existing content or races or mechanics. So
You should have just said yes.
You guys are going to have a talk after this webcast, I can tell.
No, that's cool.
All right, One-Ster. I think
it's Toolster.
Toolster, you just wanted that one to be an L. Yeah.
Or
Toolster.
Toolster was taken.
Yeah, must be. I have a lot of questions about the future of campaigns and single player. While most of mine are specific, I would love to just hear something, anything about your plans for the future of campaigns and or single player.
Sock has a really cool idea for this.
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to explain a little bit about campaigns and sort of why we have done less of them recently. So campaigns are actually very time-consuming to do. We have a scripting language that we use in order to develop them, but it involves us basically specifying exactly what champions are deployed and when and how the AI should use them. So when we put in a new champion into the campaign, it doesn't automatically know how and when to use those abilities. And as many of you know, the AI is not that smart on its own.
The AI is smart?
And so if I don't teach the AI exactly how to use that ability and when to use it, it doesn't really know how to use it, and in some cases it never uses it at all.
Yes.
And so that makes building campaigns, aside from the story and all those elements and putting all those hooks in, a very time-consuming process, and which is why you haven't seen as many of those recently. But I do have a couple ideas on doing different things for the single-player arena that won't take as much time. I've shared one of those on the forums, and I'll mention it now as well, and one of them is player challenges. And what that really means is that what I would do is design an encounter, a specific encounter, where I give you a set of runes and a set of tools, essentially, to solve a problem. And you have some restrictions as to when or how fast you need to complete it, and that way it becomes a challenge of you to trying to figure out, of the tools at your disposal, which one should you be focusing on, which ones should you use. It's kind of like those chess puzzles you see in newspapers and stuff.
Yeah.
And so that will take much less time because it's all about you, the player, as opposed to having to teach the AI to do things
Right. Okay. All right. This is another one from Dagbog. He says, are there any plans for training grounds, introducing more people into ranked to offer them more fair matches, loosening the rules for training grounds into anything goes, making it an incentive to play themed decks so newer players have less to learn before their first match?
Yeah, so coming soon, we're working on this, is, well, first of all, we're going to remove the tutorial. And that sounds crazy, but if you have played the walkthroughs recently, you'll find that the tutorial is mostly in the walkthroughs. And the walkthroughs themselves actually teach the game much better than the tutorial actually does, because the walkthroughs actually play the game with you, whereas the tutorial is just sort of showing you arrows and what to do.
Right.
And so the walkthroughs are going to sort of replace the tutorial in that regard. Beyond that, we do have plans to revamp the training grounds, and the current plan is to turn it into a theme deck room only, and starter decks as well, but we're primarily theme decks. And what that will do is allow players to play with comparable decks and not have to face pre-made constructed decks that other players have built that are much more powerful than theirs. And it creates a level playing field for everybody. We are reluctant to, I guess, put in a player level cap because we want veteran players to be able to go into the training ground and play games with newer players and teach them how to play the game.
Teach them how to play the game.
Yes, not face roll and
Teach
steamroll
them.
them.
Lovingly. With
I did want to acknowledge...
Which I got to say, you guys were awesome with the Steam players.
Yes.
I think Sak was going to mention that, but the community was fantastic, has been fantastic, welcoming all the new players coming in. So thank you guys. We appreciate that.
So the other part of this, and this is the really cool part I think, is that we're going to make it so that every player has the option to play a random theme deck. And that will be your default option to play a deck. And so as a new player, when you come in and you go to the training grounds, you will be able to play any of the theme decks. You won't be able to choose which one, but it'll choose one randomly for you. And that way, even if you don't have a deck, you're able to access that content. And veteran players can also go in there and play a random theme deck, and then you're able to have these competitive matches of random theme decks.
That's kind of cool. I like that. Very neat.
Of course, you can also buy them.
Yes, of course.
Of course.
But it gives you kind of a trial before you buy, too. You know, if you haven't bought that one yet, or any of them, and you want to know if you do.
Well, and this will be the second or third kind of change that we've done to that lobby, right?
Yeah, so we made, or I guess the last regime changed it from
Regime.
If you're watching,
merged anything goes and training grounds into one lobby.
we love you, buddy.
And so this will sort of split that up again a little bit because we're finding that new players need that extra area where they can get settled in and learn the game before they get...
It's a big learning curve. I know I've played Pox a couple times and I still don't grasp everything.
Yeah.
I'm not really a strategy game person, so, I mean, it's a hard...
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough for a lot of people coming in. But, I mean, I think this will be a really good thing. You guys have been really positive, I know, from the feedback that I've seen on the forums. So we're into kind of doing what works for you guys because you're the people that play the game.
Yeah. So. All right. This next one is from Negativizer 0. Since no one plays single ticket draft, at least I haven't since I've joined, would you consider making this a gold item?
Probably not. I think you have some ideas for maybe changing the way tournaments go. I know that what we've talked about a little bit that I'd like to see is more community involvement with tournaments. We obviously have plans to always override the system, make it better and build on it, but we have to balance that with all the other stuff we're doing. So one of the things that we'd really like to see this year is more community involvement. So like with the story stuff that's happening, we're also going to see more community involvement with tournaments. There's a tournament going on right now in the forum. I can't remember the name of it. I wrote it down, but we want to sponsor it, so give you guys some prizing that you can dish out to players that are hosting the tournaments can give to players that are joining the tournament. So we're hoping to see more of that. MEPS will probably be heading a lot of that up and working with you guys directly, but the idea is to help support you guys do stuff on your own as well as build on our stuff that's currently in the game.
Is MEPS aware that he has to do
No,
that?
he is now.
Oh,
though.
yeah, he's in the channel. Gosh. Surprise! More work for you.
I like surprises.
I believe it was his idea to begin with.
It
so.
was.
Oh, okay.
It
All
was.
right, all right. And there is a tournament every weekend, pretty much, going on, a free tournament.
There is, and I think MEPS has been pushing to get some more out there because I think you guys, a lot of our overseas players or players that are in different time zones don't like the time zones that we choose. So we're going to work with you guys and try to offer some more stuff
Okay.
so that you get to take part in that.
Very cool, very cool. All right. This one is from Exerone again. Wants to know what the significance of your handle is.
Oh, right. So it's kind of old. It's from the 90s, essentially.
Wow.
The 90s.
But that was when I was playing MechWarrior a lot. And in the Battletech universe, which MechWarrior is part of, the faction I played, the Clanners, had a lot of last names that were Russian. And so I chose a Russian last name to
Isn't that from
use as my persona.
James Bond or something?
James Bond.
What?
Wasn't Sokolov like a character in James Bond or something?
Oh, it's most people think I use it's from Metal Gear Solid because there is a scientist in Metal Gear Solid, I think 4, by the name of Sokolov. I mean, it's such a last name, so
Slugbait, Metal Gear.
it's going to show up in various places. It's also like apparently a law firm in New York.
Yes, it is. I've seen it's Sokolov and Sokolov, yeah.
Well, I think a lot of our screen names we actually came up with pre-SOE.
Yeah.
When we were still Octopi.
Yeah.
So I think there's actually rules that you're supposed to follow now, but
Really? There are?
yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that. What
No.
about yours?
Where did mine come
Yeah.
from? It came from some book,
Book?
that I read. I won't name the author because I don't want him to contact me. He's an author I like, and it's a character in Arthurian lore, King Arthur. lore.
Okay, yeah.
It's another name for Merlin. So
I don't think SOE has rules on
really,
our avatar. I mean, other than the official naming policy that CS uses, that,
Maybe
the
that's-
players aren't allowed to, name their stuff. But, no, I don't. I mean, mine, I was like, I wanted something Ash and, like, Lee, but, those are all taken. So I just started randomly typing, and Ashlanne came out. So, I think a lot of people's came that way. My play character name, though, is like yours, taken
Yeah.
from a book, yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's a good thing to do.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we have some images to show you at the end.
I have one last bit
Oh.
too I wanted to save for the webcast.
Oh,
We're trying,
and we have to draw some
Yeah.
names too.
We're trying to do more of these for you guys so that you can get a chance to see us. I'm hoping to get some of the other guys on the team in here so you can get to see what they look like, but so far they've fought me on that.
We should just sneak a camera in there.
We should do that. But what we want to do is try to, for those of you that tune in each time you watch something, we want to share something special. So we're going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to let you know that the next expansion, I shouldn't be doing this because we just released, but I want it to be special.
Wait, does PR know about this?
Yeah, well, I'm not giving you a date. I'm just giving you kind of an in-between. The next expansion, you'll be seeing it sometime in February, so be on the lookout for it.
All right.
That means lots of work for me.
And then of those who submitted questions, we're going to give away something. And what was
Yes,
that you?
we're going to give three people, lucky people who will be drawn will receive one Wild Alliance Legendary Pack, random.
All right.
Wow.
All right. Exarone is one.
Guacamole 23. Guacamole.
What does it say?
Guacamole 23.
Oh, see, that's the one I couldn't say.
Yeah.
Quacka
How
something.
do you say that?
One,
Can
two,
you post
three.
in the forums the enunciation?
Yeah, and
for that?
Dagbog is the other one. So congratulations, guys.
Congrats, guys.
We're going to put up some images for you before we sign off. We want to thank you for joining us for the SOE Community Webcast, PoxNora Wild Alliance Legends. We hope you enjoy chatting with Luke and Derek. Join us next week. We're going to talk EverQuest 2 Dungeon Maker Part 2. They said I couldn't say Part 2, but, they're not here to tell me no. Same time, same place. See you next week, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Sony.